So what's going on, guys? My name's Chopper, and welcome back to today's video. Ladies and gentlemen, the updates don't stop coming. I'm just back from my trip, and as soon as this happened, PUBG had released a new surprise update for us that we really didn't see coming, but has some absolutely amazing stuff in it, so I really hope you guys do enjoy today. PUBG has been absolutely on fire with these updates. You might remember just a few days ago, we made a video talking about a sound update that Battlegrounds is getting, a much-needed one in that fact. And as far as updates for that month, I thought it was it, but they dropped a surprise update on us, so we're going to take a look at everything that came to the game. So if you guys do go on to enjoy today's video, all I ask in return is if you could leave a like rating on the video, as it does help me out very, very much. And of course, if you are new to the channel and you don't want to miss any content like this, make sure you do go ahead and subscribe as well. And one last quick announcement before we jump into the video. Since I'm now back from my trip, we're going to be streaming every day over on Twitch. So if you're a supporter on this channel, you don't already follow me over there, and you would like to catch the streams, links in the description, make sure you go follow up, and I'll see you over there. But that said and out of the way, guys, let's get started. So the description of this update goes as follows. The season continues with update 4.2 now available on the test server, and a storm is raging over the battlegrounds. Erangel's overcast weather can now produce a variety of weather conditions over the island, from thunderstorms to fog to heavy rain and even hail. So let's start there because there's quite a lot to unpack with just that phrase. Now, Erangel is getting brand new weather settings, but it's not just like the standard default settings that we used to have in the past, or they don't seem to be very static. They seem to have like a dynamic feature to it. Now, it seems like the one thing that all of these weather settings have in common is just the overcast weather. So once you have like a cloudy looking sky and it's just really not too sunny at all, you can expect maybe one of these events to happen. So let's go and break each one down on what it could mean. And I want to start with heavy winds. Now, I'd say this one in particular really made me raise an eyebrow because as far as I'm concerned, this one is completely brand new. Some of these other weather settings we have seen in some form or another, either on Erangel or another map, but this one in particular really stood out because we haven't seen heavy winds before, and we don't know if this is going to affect any aspect of gameplay whatsoever. Now, the first thing my mind jumped to when I read this heavy wind setting was something pretty crazy, but it'd be way too hard to code. It's just an idea to throw out there. Imagine you have the heavy wind setting on Erangel, and it could like basically sway your bullets when shooting at a long distance, so you'd have to account for the way that the wind is blowing. You could see the direction by the way that the grass is moving and that flags are going and stuff, like even potentially your throwables getting carried with the wind and pushed to the side whichever way it's blowing. That would be really, really hard to code for this game, and it's likely just going to be an auditory thing, I believe, which I'm definitely interested in playing and seeing how it affects the game. The only thing that I didn't like about Vikendi really was like it had this really loud ambient wind sound, and it was kind of, you know, drowning out the sound of footsteps, and I wasn't a big fan of that. I know some people liked it, so I hope that the heavy wind setting probably has something unique going along with it, or it may accompany all these weather settings as well. Now, the next weather we don't really need to talk about. It's just fog. We've seen this all before. It's pretty, you know, self-explanatory and standard. Let's talk about thunderstorms. Now, I'm pretty interested in this one as well. Like, Erangel in the past has done a sort of rain thing, and it even had like little flashes of lightning and played around with the sound of thunder, but nothing really too crazy as like a full-on storm. But it looks like Erangel Remastered is getting just that, and they may do one of these like dynamic things where you'll see the lightning off in the distance and then hear the thunder maybe a few seconds later, which would be sick. This is also going to be combined in with the rain setting, so you have all of this going at once, making for a really unique environment on Erangel. Now, I know not everyone is a big fan of the rain games on Erangel, and there's a couple of reasons for that, which was one of the things that they ended up doing at the beginning of the game and removing this feature, probably to come back and rework it for this Erangel Remaster, which makes sense. But it might be, since the weather is sort of dynamic, it could be something where it's raining at the beginning, or you have like a thunderstorm during the first portion of the match, but if you know, make it to the end, maybe the skies might clear up a bit and get sunny again. Either way, whatever they decide to do with these weather settings, whether it's static or not, I'm pretty confident that all these are going to be fun to play in, and in particular the rain, I'm very hopeful that it's going to be way more balanced better than it was last time. And now with the last weather setting, which may be the strangest one, let's talk about the hail. Now, for this one, I don't believe this is going to affect gameplay too much. I think it's going to be an auditory distraction for sure, and it also might cut down on visuals a little bit. It might be like sort of a lesser fog. No matter what though, it's going to be a really cool experience playing in hail, like when you're driving through a vehicle and having it bounce off your window if you're sitting in like a house and you're all posted up. And from what it's looking like, all of these weather settings are probably going to be interchangeable with one another. You may get every single weather setting in one match, which would be wild. Now, apart from just all of the weather changes, which I include as being a gameplay feature, we have some new much needed gameplay changes that are coming, and it's honestly about time that these happen. First one you need to know is now the blue zone shimmer effect has gone away. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, there was a feature in the game where if you were aimed down sights at the time where the blue zone passed over you, your aim would shake and shimmer and basically throw off any shot that you would have if the zone just happened to pass over you while you were shooting at somebody. It was very frustrating, very annoying, and as far as I'm concerned, really served no gameplay purpose. And finally, they've done away with that. Now, when it comes to the shimmer effect, though, when it just passes over you normally, or just the way that the zone looks visually, that hasn't changed at all. It's just that annoying shimmer effect that you would get when you were aimed down sight. So it's like a very specific thing, but a very annoying one, and I think it changes that we need. So next up, check this out. We got some changes to throwables, and this is a pretty different one. We have a friction adjustment to the smoke grenade, stun, and also frag. So with smoke grenades, the friction force has been increased to slow the rolling speed and cause them to roll a shorter distance after impacting surfaces. So what this is going to mean for you is that now if you're trying to smoke up a care package or a very particular spot that you need to just land it on and you don't want it to keep rolling, now that's going to be easier to do. Now whenever you need to drop a smoke on a down teammate, maybe he's on a hill, or if you see a crate that you need to smoke up, it's not going to roll off of these two things. And so hopefully this ends up making the smoke grenades much more easy to use and predictable. Now with the regular frags and stuns, this is the change I'm not so sure about. So basically the friction force has now been decreased to speed up the rolling speed and increase the distance they can travel after impacting surfaces. So with regular frags and stuns, now when they hit the ground, they're going to bounce a little bit farther and faster than they did before. Now it's too early to tell whether this is going to be an overpowered change or not, but what I will say is this: frag grenades were already like teetering on the edge of being overpowered in the eyes of most players. Like they are pretty much the most like broken and easy to use item in the game already, and making these things easier to roll or bounce or basically get more distance on is I don't know if that's going to be a positive change yet, but we'll have to wait and see. But that's something to look out for. Now PUBG has already tried to indirectly nerf grenades with an update that came out a little while ago that allowed us to heal while moving, and it does actually work to some degree, but I don't know if it's enough to now counteract this new rolling distance that it has. We'll have to wait and see, but this throwable change is really something that you got to know. Now we got some changes coming to vehicles, some new handling improvements for the scooter, snowbike, snowmobile, motorcycle, and sidecar are improving their overall stability. In particular, the 3-seater now has way more stability when going off-road. These are always welcome changes, but I don't know if they're going to make this vehicle that much more popular. I still think it's going to be the least one used, and it's more or less just a quality of life change. But if overall, across the board, all of the vehicles are more stable in the game, I don't think anybody's going to say no to that. So all of these vehicle adjustments so far are absolutely fine to me, and if you didn't catch my video the other day, all the vehicles very soon are going to be getting a complete sound redesign for almost all of them. So this just seems to be the first step in going on that journey, getting them fixed. And another change to vehicles that's coming is the engines can now be manually turned off. So it's either going to, you can turn them off while gaining momentum and then shut the car down for a more like quiet and tactical maneuver, or it's still going to disable if you stand still in the vehicle for more than 8 seconds or 2 seconds after you jump out of your car. Essentially what this is going to mean is now that you can shut off your engine while you're moving in order to make a more like quiet play on somebody. I'm very curious to see how players are going to end up using this, but this is definitely a welcome change for sure. Another small update to the reticles, this is kind of cool, is that they've now increased the visibility against bright backgrounds. So particular in Vikendi, some of the colors of the reticles and particular ones, you really just could not see up against white backgrounds, and so apparently that's been fixed. Nothing too major there, just looks like maybe all of your red dots, holographics, all of your scopes are going to be a bit more defined up against light background. Now for another change that's a pretty big one is additional destructible pylons and barricades have been added to Erangel. They can be destroyed by vehicles, weapons, and explosions, but they do provide a limited amount of cover until they're destroyed. So basically, the destructible environment that started in Erangel Remastered with those sort of like haystacks that can be run over and blown up are now going over to also pylons that can be shot through, and it's just basically a more dynamic effect where now these can be broken, but you can also decide to use these as cover if it's going to be worth taking those amount of bullets. In my opinion, having as much of the environment as possible be dynamic and changing and something that's basically player controlled is always great. So they mentioned, for example, some of the existing objects which were previously non-breakable can now be destroyed, such as the traffic cones and Milta. It looks like they're slowly but surely getting the environment as dynamic as they possibly can, and that's such a good thing if you ask me. We've also got a couple quick changes coming to the health bar and the overall UI around that. Now, helmets and vests are going to be better displayed against this, basically the health that each of these pieces of equipment has. This was made to give you a more accurate reading on the durability of all your stuff and just make it a little bit nicer and easier to look at. And now the fire mode of your weapon is no longer going to be represented by words, but instead of a symbol now. I think this change is fine. You could argue that new players might get confused about what that means and they're going to struggle with that a little bit, but I don't think it's going to take too long for them to figure out what's auto, what's burst, and what's single fire. Also, a change that is pretty cool, but I don't know how much is going to be used. The old Erangel is now available in custom matches if you would like to, so go back and play that. Now, this is fine, and I have no problems leaving that in custom games, but what I really feel like PUBG could do with this opportunity is use old Erangel as sort of an event mode. Like maybe a couple months down the road, they make an event where you play the old Erangel and maybe on the original settings, like all of the weapons and everything like that are just like the classic OG days. They've done that once before. But but I feel like they could do it again, and especially with the old map and maybe all of the old weapons and the settings and stuff like that, which would be really great. We'll have to wait and see, but at least it's available in custom games if you so feel the need to play the old version. Now, with this update as well, there was also about 1 million bug fixes, and some of these were really important that have been plaguing the game since the beginning. Do you remember the issue where you'd have a vehicle parked up against a stationary object and you'd hear the crashing and collision noise? Well, that's finally been fixed. If you want to see all of the bug fixes for yourself and you'd like to go through those, then I'll leave a link in the description, but it's all a lot of quality of life stuff, and besides that, nothing really too big, just a lot of things that are going to be overall gameplay improvements. And then finally, the last update is a little small one here for Vikendi. The ambient noise of the wind has finally been reduced, and I believe that this is just for the night mode, as it wasn't really an issue in the daytime. But regardless, this would be absolutely great if I could even find a match of Vikendi, but this is a quality of life change that everybody's open to, and hopefully this helps get matchmaking sorted out as well a little bit down the road. But anyways, guys, that is going to be the video for today. I really hope you guys did enjoy. If you did, please make sure to leave a thumbs up, subscribe if you are brand new, and also before you leave, make sure you go ahead and follow me over on Twitch, where I'm going to be live streaming, and I'll see you all over there. But I hope you all have a fantastic rest of your day, and I'll see you all on the next live stream or the next video. Take it easy, and peace out.